Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, a South Mississippi resident is honored with a National Conservation Award.
It could be another 2 years before beef prices moderate.
In Southern gardening, bumblebees, you may be surprised to find out they work as hard as you do in the garden.
In the markets, corn prices this year remain a question mark for many analysts, but the new cattle on feed report looks friendly for the beef sector. Extension economist John Michael Riley has analysis.
In the feature segment, burn it to save it. That's what prescribed fire can do in a southern pine forest. You get more trees and more wildlife.
It's important to remember that for hundreds of years, fire has been a part of the pine ecosystem in the southeast. It helped to control underbrush. It helped to promote native grasses and native forbs that are important for wildlife species, and also helped to reduce wildfire risk.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
A longtime leader in state conservation efforts and a retired school teacher was honored this week with a national award.
Leighton, Penny Kochtitzky of Hattiesburg received the Friend of Conservation Award from the National Association of Conservation Districts at its annual meeting in San Antonio, Texas. Miss Penny, as she is fondly known, was picked from among 50 state nominees.
This is all we have. We are here on Earth. We have no other place to go, so we've got to conserve it. We need to conserve it.
Penny Kochtitzky of Hattiesburg was honored with the Friend of Conservation Award from the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts just a week before receiving the same award from the National Association.
Oftentimes it's awarded to organizations and businesses, that type thing, but Miss Penny was just an outstanding individual, and she actually won it as an individual.
In addition to school teaching, Kochtitzky was involved locally in conservation efforts through the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District. Statewide, she worked with the Mississippi Wildlife Federation, earning 3 awards, including Educator of the Year, Conservationist of the Year, and Outstanding Volunteerism. Kochtitzky was also honored with the title Director Emeritus after serving many years on the NWF Board of Directors. Kochtitzky taught most of her 29-year career at Oak Grove Elementary, where she incorporated conservation and science into her curriculum, taking her class on field trips. Wynn Ellington of Mississippi Senator Thad Cochran's staff read a congratulatory letter from Cochran.
As a lifelong educator, you are very innovative in incorporating conservation principles into your curriculum. Through numerous field trips you organized, you created opportunities for your students of all ages to learn how these principles were applied in daily life.
We went down to Little Black Creek, and my children started the nature trail down there. They actually outlined where they thought it ought to be, and that's where the nature trail was, at Little Black.
Yes, we were very thrilled that she had won the national award, because that just tells us we know what good people we have here in Mississippi, and we're just glad that she got recognized by the nation.
I have a story of a young man who's quite ancient. He's almost as old as I am now, who was a student, and he is a forester because of the conservation efforts that we had in the classroom, and that was a long time ago. So it has its effect.
Well, a variety of other awards and scholarships were handed out last week at the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts. Local soil and water conservation districts try to get young people aware of conservation and its different themes with a variety of competitions.
It could be 2 more years before Americans see some price relief at the beef sales counter. Ag economist Ron Plain with the University of Missouri Extension Service says the 2013 calf numbers will be tight, causing problems going forward. Plain says it could be 2015 before there's any major price relief. He says last year's drought lowered herd numbers, plus producers were hit by high feed prices. Plains says new price records are expected this year on slaughter steers, yearlings, and slaughter cows. Total U.S. meat production is expected to drop 1.3% in 2013, while the population is expected to grow almost 1%.
But do you think you're the only gardening enthusiast working in your landscape? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how hard bumblebees labor in the garden.
Our mission at Southern Gardening is to show you many beautiful scenes from the garden. These exquisite flowers require a lot of hard work from the home gardener. But there's another gardening enthusiast whose work we often forget about, the bumblebee. Bumblebees are busy little insects that constantly buzz from flower to flower, collecting pollen, and in the process providing pollination for the eventual production of fruit and seeds. Bumblebees are attracted to many flowering plants. Just look at how many bumblebees are on these Victoria purple salvia. The flowers are actually a collection of many small flowers on a single stalk. Notice how this bee works each individual flower on the stalk. Another flower that attracts lots of bumblebees are coneflowers. The bumblebees constantly investigate the entire cone before moving to the next flower. Look at this particular bumblebee, which appears to be packing massive saddlebags of pollen on each of his back legs. Perhaps my favorite is this busy bumblebee working amongst Mexican petunias. Notice that he almost disappears deep into each flower searching for pollen. After coming out, he grooms himself before continuing his pollen quest. Bumblebees not only search for pollen, but also for sugars. In the fall, these bumblebees are attracted to ripe muscadines. The sugar in the fruit provides energy in preparation for winter and often results in a feeding frenzy. To many gardeners, bumblebees seem aggressive and may sting, but actually they're quite passive. Generally speaking, if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. Rest assured, they're an important and necessary part of all of our gardens. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Now, LaytonBumblebee.org says that a bumblebee can fly about 40 minutes on a full stomach, that it takes about 60 flowers full of nectar to fill up a bumblebee, but it actually may have to visit about 100 flowers to find that amount. So he's working hard.
It sounds like it.
In the feature segment, prescribed burning in southern pine stands. Done properly, you're protected from liability, you get timber production, and wildlife flourishes. Time now for the markets with Layton. And what will corn prices do this year? It's a bit of a guessing game, you say?
Analysts seem to be a little more confident talking long term and what the outlook might be as opposed to, say, the next 10 or 11 months. Also ahead this week in the markets, retail trends look good for chicken. The cattle on feed report is described as friendly, and the stability of old crop soybean prices may be at risk. An equity analyst with J.P. Morgan said this week that trends look good for chicken processors. Ken Goldman says retailers' margins from selling chicken are still good, even though prices are up. That means the stores are likely to continue to be willing to pay up for wholesale chicken. Goldman says he thinks chicken prices at retail are still attractive compared with red meat prices. All in all, a positive outlook for poultry processors. Meanwhile, the pork sector should also be well supported now, according to most analysts. Following an upturn in futures in the last couple of weeks, pork is well positioned at the retail meat counter, according to analyst Tom Fitzenmeyer.
I think you're going to see those February hogs move back up in the 90-cent range. They kind of bottomed out, reversed, should be well supported. The weakness in the yen, I guess, maybe concerns me a little bit because a lot of that pork does move into Japan. But I think that you're going to see that well. Like I said, it's positioned, pork's positioned fairly well at the retail level in the U.S., and I think you're going to see it hold up fairly well. And like I said, we had a reversal this week, probably going to move higher.
Traders watching the fat cattle market were given some new information in the last week. The monthly cattle on feed report was released in Washington by the USDA. Extension Ag economist Dr. John Michael Riley joined me for an interview at midday Thursday after reviewing those numbers. John Michael, what are your initial impressions of the cattle on feed report?
Well, the report was definitely a bullish one. The number of cattle on feed, January 1, just a little over 11 million head. That was about a 5.5% drop from a year earlier. The industry was looking for about a 4.5% drop, so it beat expectations in terms of, it was more bullish than expectations. And then the placement number was really where the true bullish sentiment came in, the fact that placements were mostly steady with a year ago, but trade was looking for that to be about a 4% increase. And so those two collectively really just helped buoy prices on Monday when the markets opened back up. And overall, the report was very friendly to markets.
As we look a little bit broader as far as the beef sector here, we got some encouraging news out of Japan, relaxing some restrictions on our beef.
That's right. That news came out Monday when, again, the report came out on Friday. Those two collectively, the report and this news from Japan, where they're going to relax the restrictions, allow cattle 30 months or younger to come into their country. That was just added fuel to the on-feed report. So both of those collectively really helped put the market higher.
Now, by the time our viewers are watching this, we will have had another report come out, the cattle inventory report. What are you expecting that to show?
That's true. A lot of news to talk about. Trade is looking for total number of cattle in the United States to be down about 1.8%. Beef cows down 1.5%. So a continually reduction in the beef herd and the cow herd, largely due to the drought that we continued to see in 2012. One number that everybody's looking to is heifers kept for replacement. Last year we saw that jump up just a little bit. They're not looking for that to increase, actually going to be down 0.4%, but the range of those estimates is all over the board, so that's going to be the number I think everybody's looking to.
And as we leave here, as far as consumer sentiment and the picture there, and with competing meats, how are you feeling that market going?
It doesn't look really good because you saw this big jump on Monday because this good news for the industry, but since then things have cooled down. I think that's largely due to just a lot of uncertainty about beef demand as we've come into this tight supply situation in 2013.
Our trivia quiz this week deals with wood and the fact that forest products are such an integral part of everyone's daily life. Here's the question: how many pounds of wood does each person use per day when you consider all the products that have some component of wood in them? Is the answer 2 pounds or 4 pounds, 6 pounds or 9 pounds? You'll find out here in a few more minutes.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports on whether we could have $4 corn or $10 corn. In the feature segment today, prescribed burning. When it's done properly, everything benefits, including your neighbor's barn.
Mississippi 4-H celebrates a rich history of youth development through creative hands-on experiences. Programs emphasize leadership, technology, science, and agriculture.
But it's a lot more than that. Making the best better.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Mississippi Market Ready Training is Wednesday, February 13th. Takes place in the Boss Building on campus at Mississippi State University in Starkville. Hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in selling directly to restaurants and other outlets, Market Ready will get you started. Find out how to build relationships and how to figure out your selling price. There's no registration fee. The Northeast Mississippi Fruit and Vegetable Producers Association's Educational Conference and Trade Show will take place February 14th and 15th. Location is the Lee County Agri-Center's Magnolia Building. That's Highway 145 at Verona. $20 will pay your registration fee and your association membership. This is a conference filled with great information on growing and selling fruits and vegetables in Northeast Mississippi. Producers already in the business will speak as well. Organic production and agritourism will also be covered. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Poultry Perspectives, an extension publication in Maryland, has brought forth an analysis from the grain sector that's apparently shared by many traders around the country right now. The Maryland economists are of the opinion that U.S. corn prices could fall as low as $4 per bushel if there are timely rains this year. On the other hand, with a persisting drought condition in some parts of the country, a lack of rain this year could push corn to $10 a bushel. Now, longer term, the Mid-Atlantic economists say they are confident grain prices will decline over the next 5 years. Welcome news, of course, for poultry and meat producers. As for the soybean market, as we cross from January to February, some analysts describe themselves as antsy when it comes to old crop beans. Analyst Elaine Cubb says, in fact, the old crop is in what she calls a precarious position.
And when you talk about South America, within the next couple of months, all of this export business from China is going to be directed in their direction. So I think there's a limited time frame for the U.S. soybean market to be very bullish. And I'm always very concerned that on any given day, China could certainly come in here and cancel it and put another big cancellation in. And that could certainly drive these markets down 40 cents in an instant. So I think the soybean market, the old crop soybean market, is in a very precarious position. They don't have quite the same supply and demand situation that corn does, and there's certainly these opportunities for the export news to go away. So I don't like holding on to beans anymore.
Before this week's feature story, our trivia answer is next, and this week it is C. Each person uses about 6 pounds of wood per day, according to Extension Forest Product Specialist David Jones.
It's that time of year when people begin thinking about burning off fields or southern pine stands. It's called controlled burning, some say prescribed burning. If you do it without following the law, though, you could be liable for any damages caused by an accidental wildfire. In our feature segment today, we visit Orby and Brenda Wright, a Lumberton, Mississippi couple who practice prescribed burning. Some find it hard to believe that fire is one of the tools that the Wrights use on their property. Farmweek visited the Wrights in 2010 when a prescribed burn took place. It actually improves wildlife habitat in the southern pine ecosystem.
We like the longleaf ecosystem, and we've been in several programs that help us with that also, to promote the gopher tortoise, and it's great for fox squirrels and quail and turkey and deer.
Orby Wright and his wife Brenda bought the land in 1988 that would eventually become Quail Hollow Ranch. You wouldn't know it today, but the Wrights say the land was pretty well cut over and needed reforestation. The Wrights sought out public and private forestry expertise and developed a plan to restore the property. 14 years later, in 2002, they were the Mississippi Forestry Association's Outstanding Tree Farmers of the Year. The next year, they were the Southern Region Tree Farmers of the Year. In January 2010, they received the Wildlife Conservationist Award from the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts. The Wrights love the outdoors so much, they burn it.
It's important to remember that for hundreds of years, fire has been a part of the pine ecosystem in the southeast. It helped to control underbrush. It helped to promote native grasses and native forbs that are important for wildlife species. And also help to reduce wildfire risk. If you look in the western part of the United States these days, in California and Montana and those type of areas, you see that we're always having wildfires. And the primary reason is because we've taken fire out of the equation.
Rush Walsh is the president of the Mississippi Prescribed Fire Council and the chairman of the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District. Walsh says the southern pine forest and its wildlife are adapted to fire. As long as the fire stays out of the treetops, southern pines can take the heat. The fire also clears out the understory, creating anew the habitat that the animals of the southern pine ecosystem need.
Fire just starts the process of plant succession over. We reduce the woody growth and the hardwood competition. We reduce all the dead grasses. So right after a burn for the summer, several summers after the burn, we have all of these lush plants coming back, all these native grasses and all of these broadleaf weeds that are going to provide food sources and cover.
The proper use of fire in pine timber and wildlife management is called prescribed burning. As the name implies, it's not done indiscriminately. It's planned for the given area to be burned. A person certified in prescribed burning creates the prescription.
The certified prescribed burn managers have gone through the burning short course in Mississippi. And they learn about weather patterns, they learn about firing techniques, they learn about fuel loads and fuel conditions and right burning conditions. They know all of the pieces to the puzzle of prescribed burning.
To legally conduct a prescribed burn in Mississippi, you must have a notarized burn plan for the site. A certified prescribed burn manager must be on site during the burn. You must secure a burn permit from the Mississippi Forestry Commission on the day of the prescribed burn. There are advantages to following the law. By using a certified prescribed burn manager, you have an experienced person who knows how to conduct a prescribed burn where it won't get out of control. Following the law also gives you legal protection.
If you have followed the letter of the law, which means you had your burn plan, burn manager on site, you got a burn permit, then if a fire gets out and causes damage to a neighboring property, then they have to prove negligence, that you were negligent on your part. And if you followed all those steps, it's going to be very hard for them to prove that negligence.
The Wrights conduct prescribed burns every year, but they do not burn every acre every year.
Longleaf, typically this we burn every other year, at least we try to. And then of course we rotate different areas and leave some unburned areas for nesting for the turkeys and quail.
As fires move through here, they're not just going to be in that stand and get burned up. They're going to move out, but they've got cover to go to because we haven't burned all the property at one time. They've got cover to move to. So wildlife are very resistant to prescribed fire and also very adapted.
Just as I went up the house a while ago, is bringing the water back, there was 4 fox squirrels in the front yard. Just, you know, you have geese in the back, and I saw 2 big turkeys walk across the yard this morning, and you know, that's just something that not everybody, you just can't have without working at it.
Prescribed burning is not done simply by getting on the upwind side of a track and allowing the fire to sweep across the entire track at one time. Torches are used to set fire to small strips, working from the downwind edge of the track to the upwind side. This keeps the fire manageable, out of the treetops, and it's much less likely to jump the fire lanes. Smoke is one of the biggest concerns in prescribed burning. Weather conditions must allow it to rise into the sky. Smoke that stays on the ground could create dangerous driving conditions on nearby roads.
The biggest factor that we face with burning today is smoking in highways and residential neighborhoods, and that's where that burn permit really comes in and says, hey, smoke is allowed to disperse well today.
Gary Blair, South Area Vice President with the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts, says the Wrights were deserving of the MACD's Wildlife Conservationist of the Year award. They're involved in reestablishing the gopher tortoise on their property. Blair says the Wrights have also assisted the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District by hosting education events for landowners and youth. The property has been a training site for the MACD-sponsored Envirothon competition.
A lot of our programs now are geared toward education. I would say that's our largest component, is educating not only the public and the farmers and the landowners, but also our young people, our students. We do a lot of our programs are geared toward our young people and getting them aware of what conservation practices are and what things that they can do to assist the natural resources that God has given us.
Using poplar lumber salvaged after Hurricane Katrina swept through their property, the Wrights have built a creekside pavilion.
That's something that we wanted to do, and it gives us an opportunity to have a place so that we can have the school kids come in, and we have field days down here and things like that. It's just it's an ideal spot rather than in a more residential kind of setting.
Brenda Wright says getting young people interested and knowledgeable about conservation is vital.
Well, if the young people aren't interested and don't learn about it, it ends with, you know, these generations. But most young people, given the opportunity, they love the outdoors.
And if you're interested in watching this story again, you can go to our website, farmweek.msu-ES.com. You can also go to our Facebook page. We will have telephone numbers and links to a variety of agencies where you can get additional information on prescribed burning. So that's farmweek.msu-ES.com. And Leighton, the one thing to keep in mind is it's good to have somebody there that does know about prescribed burning. They can say, hey, it's the wind's too high, the wind can be too low as well, because you want the smoke to disperse. So when you have somebody that's experienced there, once again, as Russ mentioned in there, your liability is lessened because they have to prove that you didn't obey the prescribed
There's
burning.
a lot more to it than
There's
it
a lot more
appears.
to it, but then you get good results. I know in my brother's and I's case, our family's land in Smith County, we had to wait 2 years to get it burned because the wind was going towards chicken houses, and we didn't want the smoke going towards chicken houses. So that's why having experience is helpful. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, they're more than pretty faces, they're rodeo queens.
Miss Dixie National 2012, Paige Nicholson, and Miss Rodeo Mississippi 2012, Samantha Golden, will soon give up their crowns to their successors. These women represent agriculture and ranching as they travel the state.
Mississippi State University has signed a memorandum of understanding with a major agricultural university in India.
In southern gardening, camellias. These hardy bloomers give us cool season color.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.